Today's challenging business environment implies that it is no longer sufficient for a new graduate to have a place in the market with only the academic knowledge. It is increasingly necessary for students to gain those skills during their undergraduate studies which will enhance their prospects of a successful career. The skills provided by basic education at universities of Egypt need to be supplemented with a strong set of global workplace skills, industry knowledge, and functional knowledge of emerging role-based specializations. In this context, a cooperation protocol has been signed between the Ministry of Higher Education and Scientific Research and the Ministry of Communications and Information Technology for the introduction of employability skills program in the higher education stage. The protocol outlines a general framework and an executive plan to conduct undergraduate training on soft skills, language abilities, and technical competence. The project aims at enhancing the employability of the Egyptian universities' graduates and preparing them for the local and global markets. This collaborative effort is a part of a workforce development initiative aimed at reducing the gap between student readiness and the employer expectations of a ready workforce. The outcome of this cooperation protocol is the Program of Education Development for Universities in Egypt, EDU Egypt, which is considered a milestone in bridging the employability gap, which will help Egyptian graduates leapfrog into a global workforce culture. Moreover, this protocol aims at preparing the Egyptian market for the new industry of business process outsourcing, BPO, to eliminate the percentage of unemployment by encouraging the graduates to get the skills needed in this field and to encourage companies to receive them. In this way, this protocol will not only prepare the students for their future career, but also to create new industry in our market. EDU Egypt is running in two lanes. The Business Process Outsourcing or BPO program, which serves the new industry that is expected to enrich the employability of the Egyptian market by enhancing the students' language skills, customer service skills, cultural sensitization, PC and data skills, and the ITO program, which is for the technical faculties of computer science and information technology.
Welcome back, and now we take a look at one of the topics for tonight's edition of the Daily Debate. We have the Education Development for Universities in Egypt, or EDU Egypt, and I'm joined tonight in the studio by Mr. Bishoy Louis, the trainee of the EDU Egypt program. Good evening, sir. Thank you very much for joining us. And I'm also joined by two trainees, Dua Said and Muhammad Aida. Thank you guys for joining us tonight in the studio. Let's start off with Mr. Bishoy. First and foremost, let me congratulate you on the success of the program. And if you can explain to our viewers how this program came about, the main idea behind this program.
Well, basically the program is the result of a protocol signed between the Ministry of Communication and Information Technology as well as the Ministry of Higher Education. This is a joint effort to improve the chances of our students when they graduate for joining better employment. This project targets mainly the BPO industry, which is business process outsourcing. The project is basically based on a study of the market. What does the BPO market require at this point in time? And we have seen that Egypt is a very, very promising country in terms of the BPO industry, lots of potential. So market studies have been made and curriculum designs have been put into place. So we have basically two tracks when it comes to EDU Egypt. First is the voice track, which focuses mainly on linguistics, direct interaction with the customers in the BPO industry. On the other hand, we have a data track, which focuses mainly on computer and IT support system, which is something more oriented to computers, help desk services, and such services that are required, highly required by the BPO industry.
So let's speak a bit about the financing of such a program. Is it sponsored by the government, or are the NGOs sponsoring this program?
This project is funded by Ministry of Communication and Information Technology, and they have been taken on the funding process since the beginning of the project. This is the 4th year running EDU Egypt. We're approaching EDU Egypt phase 4 for the coming year.
Right, so now let me move over to the trainees. I'll start, if you don't mind, Muhammad, with Dua. It's ladies first basis here. How did you learn about the program, Dua?
Well, it's from an orientation session from the faculty. So I'm an ASM faculty, so it was the first time that I've heard about that program. And after that, I entered the exam and I've been accepted, so lucky me. And after that, I entered that course and I've learned more.
The program. So tell us a bit about the program. What have you gained from it?
Well, a lot of skills actually. Communication skills, presentation skills, soft skills. You know, as well as the BPO industry. A lot about the BPO industry, the call centers, how it, the flow of the call and so on, you know. So it's so important, I can say.
And Mohammed, you tell me a bit about your experience as part of the program.
Basically, I've been able to learn a lot of things from the EDU Egypt. I've been able to raise my IQ and raise my communication skills to a next level. And my first job, I got it because of EDU, okay? Got me my first job, no doubt with this. And
tell us a bit about that experience.
yeah, it was an interview, a group interview. We were like 25 people, and four only passed this interview. Two of them were EDU Egypt.
Really?
Yeah.
So what skills did you benefit from this program, for example, that you used, applied in the interview?
Basically, communication skills, like I told you. It was a group interview, and public speaking, it's most frightening for a lot of people.
Yes,
but
indeed.
when I was in the interview, I wasn't afraid or anything like that because I was trained before, you see.
So it was easier for you than the other students. Mr. Bishoy, let me ask you, what about the curriculum that is used to teach the students in the various areas, for example, as language, IT, communication skills? Is it tailored for the Egyptian market, or is it tailored on an international model?
See, the very revolutionary thing about the curriculum is the approach is what we did. We've teamed up with the major service providers when it comes to this industry, and we have, as Dr. Mohammed Salim earlier said, he said that we have a unified curriculum that is tailored to the needs of the international players operating in Egypt. So, for example, a company could come from the USA, and they would want to start their base of operations in Egypt. What happens is that our curriculum would tackle their needs, and then using the learning needs of the Egyptian students, we would do that. So, for example, I would go and teach something called voice and accent. I would teach the Egyptian student voice and accent, and I would tackle or treat the areas of improvement that the Egyptian student would need. And I would do that to serve the American client, for example, or the European client, or the Australian client. And this is what has been proved to be very successful over the last few years, is that we have been able to deal with the international market by teaching or training our Egyptian students in such manner.
And back to the students or the trainees, the mission of the program, and I'm reading a quotation, to secure a continuous pool of candidates ready for direct employment after graduation with minimal requirements for further training. Do you think that the program has fulfilled its mission, Doc?
That's true.
Indeed.
Absolutely, yeah.
You see it as it has done exactly that. Okay, so now that you've taken the training, do you feel that it's really added to your skills before, like, is there a difference before the program, during your education and after?
Sure.
What would the difference be?
Actually, it added a lot to the personality, you can say. Because I've learned a lot about how to be self-confident and that stuff, you know, how to speak in front of people in public, like Muhammad said. And that stuff, that was very, very important. Added, of course, aside to the presentation skills and soft skills and so on.
So, Mohammed, the program is aimed at qualifying and preparing the youth in the universities to serve, you know, the society as well as the job market in various fields. Now, was there a special focus on this particular area?
It mainly focuses on call center industry, you see, BPO industry. It focuses on customer service, how to treat your customer, like loyalty and stuff like that. And mainly it depends only on communication, you see, how to communicate in a good language, good accent, with proper soft skills, how to... So a lot of things that it took
It's quite
an hour,
extensive, indeed. All right. Mr. Bishoy, now we know that the EDU Egypt program has gone through 3 phases.
Yes.
Could you explain these phases to us?
Well, normally as you go through any project, the first phase would be a pilot phase where you try out, you know, the different options that you have. Second phase would definitely have more stability. Third phase was all about having a unified curriculum, like like we've said before, it is something that you apply to the EDU Egypt students, and that is a more stable version of the project that would serve more and more and more better and efficiently when it comes to the employment market. So what has been done over the past 3 phases is that the project gains maturity as it goes along, and that is very evident in the results we have been achieving over the past 3 years. You'd find first year was a success, the pilot, which is very promising that a pilot year would be very successful, such as so. Second year had more maturity, third year had more and more maturity. So the project is moving along with giant leaps, as I can see. And you can see that evident from the employment market, the echo that the program has been achieving. And I believe it has been cited in different international newspapers as one of the leading programs across the world. I think it is the first program across the world in that kind of scale and scope, and it's very encouraging to have such a program in Egypt.
Indeed. Now, in phase 2 of the program, you made use of an Indian experience in the business process outsourcing, the BPO. Can you explain the BPO concept in more detail? You have mentioned it several times, but maybe a detailed explanation.
The point is that we have chosen to team up with India as they are the leading country when it comes to that kind of business. Basically, the idea of outsourcing is, I would give you an example. Companies abroad, they would operate their processes. That would cost them very high amount of money, paying rent, paying utility bills, and so on, even paying that high amount of money in wages for employees. What happens is that they would go to a country where utilities and facilities and such, they don't cost as much money as they do in homeland, for example, in Europe. And they would go where they find a great caliber of employees. So for example, when they came to Egypt, they have discovered that Egyptians, they have very high ability to learn languages very quickly. The Arabic language, lucky for us, the Arabic language has all the voices that you can use, so it's very easy. In contrast to other countries. So they would come to Egypt and they would outsource. That means they would give that kind of business process. For example, it would be technical support. It could be even a legal process for a lawyer. They would give that to that other country. We would do that process on their behalf. We act as their, as their employees. We would do that process on their behalf. We would do it more efficiently, for a lower cost, for better quality, and then again they would make use of this. So basically we take a process from one of the major companies abroad and we run it in a more efficient, more effective way on their behalf. So that way they would pay less money than they used to pay in their home country. We would gain more money that we normally gain from the average job market that is available at the point in time, and it's a win-win situation. And of course, as long as they can see that quality is the number one factor, they would be staying in Egypt for the time to come, I believe.
Indeed. Mohammed, you mentioned that you got one of your first employments because of this program. How about you, Dua? Any future plans?
I'm working now in a multinational company too.
Indeed. And you would say that this program really benefited you in doing that. Now, we've often heard the Minister of Telecommunications, Tariq Kamil, saying that he wants Egypt to be a technology hub for the region and Africa. How close do you think we are in achieving such a dream?
I think that for the last years, the last 5 or 6 years, Egypt really did jump to be number 5 or 6 on the list for the promising outsourcing destinations. That is one thing. Second thing, I believe we are taking very stable, confident steps towards that. We have Smart Village, which is very, very admirable by everyone who comes to visit. We have the new Contact Center Technology Park right in Maadi, which is going to be a hub for thousands of employees. I believe that over the next 5 or 6 years, Egypt would be very, very pivotal in the Middle East region. We would be a very important technology and IT hub. I believe that the ministry has solid plans for this. I believe the plans are in order and we are starting to reap the fruits of this.
And let me also ask you concerning the future plans of the education development for universities in Egypt. It has started, I heard yesterday, in the following cities: Suhaig, Mansoura, Zaazit, Suez Canal, Tanta, Kafr Sheikh. So what's in grabs now that this is in the 4th year of the process?
Well, for the time to come, we have been saying this quite a lot lately. We have started in phase 1 with 2 universities, and now we're in 12 universities, which is a huge number to achieve in 3 years. And the objective would be to reach out to students in all governorates of Egypt. That way we encourage investors to come and invest in not only Cairo, but they would come to Alexandria, which has been happening over the last year. They would go to Asyut, they would go to Upper Egypt, because the caliber is there. What we're doing is we're training them. So for the next year or two, we are expanding our base. We are going to universities, new faculties. So I believe that people in different governorates would be able to have the chance for better training, better career opportunities in their governorates as well as in Cairo. So for the time to come, I believe expansion is in order. You're going to be hearing about more universities being included in the project. And,
Right, and back to the trainees. Tell me, have some of your friends, for example, taken part in such a program, and what was their feedback in terms of other trainees?
The most important feedback from that course that it changed a lot about the misconception that we used to have about the BPO industry. You know, a lot says that I will never, you know, work as a telephonist and that stuff. So that was our conception about that industry. And the course changed it a lot, changed everything. You know, through field visits, they made parents events to the Smart Village to talk, to discuss their concerns about the industry with the managers of 3 multi-international companies in that industry. So it helped a lot to change that misconception.
The misconceptions, indeed. And how about you?